In this video, I'm going to be giving a short introduction to the Owen Glendour Society website, showing how the website is structured, what data it contains, and how the data is accessed from the menu system. This diagram here is a schematic showing you the layout of the main menu system. That you see there are two types of buttons on here. One is a dark color and one is a light color. The dark color buttons are buttons that if you click them or tap on them on a mobile device, it will bring up a web page. The light colored buttons are what I call hover buttons, and if you hover over them or again tap if you're on a mobile device, it'll bring up a sub-menu. So the Glendour History hover button will bring up this little sub-menu here, and then the About Glendour hover button will bring up this sub-menu. From there you see that there are three main menus in the system. This one here is the home menu. This one here is the Owen Glendour History sub-menu. And here we have the About Owen Glendour sub-menu. And from that then, different parts of the website can be accessed. So if I look at this menu down here first, the home menu, and look at it, there's a click button there, which I click, I bring up Medieval Wales, which I'll talk about later. Then I got two hover buttons, one about the society, which brings up the sub-menu for that. And in there are one page for each of these items. The society monument, if there's a contact, there's a contact form in there. You can allow people to join the society. That shows the society trips, and then there's an events gallery. So each of those buttons brings up one web page, and really they're sort of independent of one another. So I mean, if you go and look at the monument, you're not likely, or you may not be able to want to look at anything else in there. Okay. And then if we come to the next hover button here, further information, it's a similar thing. We get another little sub menu here, which the first part of it then is the document archive web page, related links web page, the bibliography web page, and we've got the Facebook page down there, link to the Facebook page. But we've got a little hover button in here, which gives us a little sub menu again, which we've got key locations in there about Owen Glendour's exploits during his uprising. And then we have maps, which will show all the maps that are currently on the system. And if we then, that's basically that home button there, because the comments and suggestions and the support are again click buttons, which we'll touch on a bit later. If I come across to this sub menu here, again we get a hover button there, which will take us across to the Who Was Owen Glendour sub menu. But if I stay in this one here, there's an uprising click button, which will actually give us an uprising page. Then there's a last days hover button, which gives us one of two pages, the fate of Owen Glendour or Glendour's final days. And then underneath that we have the timeline, even the timeline in detail throughout Owen's uprising period. And then underneath we have a hover button again, which is an audio and video one, which will give a sub-menu of either audio or video. And from the audio you can choose one of two audios, or on the video menu we've got a choice of those videos. Okay, and again, entries into here, you're not likely to, you may very well only want to look at one thing in there. You're not continually traversing down in order to read all those. I mean, once you're used to the system, you've only got maybe one or two that you want to look on in there. Okay. And then we come from there, then we go across to the other sub-menu, which is the About Owen Glendour sub-menu. And there's a web page up there, the click button, which gives a brief summary of who was Owen Glendour. And we have two hover buttons, one of which is concerned with the family, giving a family tree and family details, a page on the family details. And then we have another hover button for homes, which will give the drop-down menu for Glendour's homes, the Sycharth Timber, and a poem by Iolo Goch about Sycharth. And carrying on down here, then we have 4 click buttons. One is the Statesman, another one is the Parliaments, and one is the Tripartite Indenture, and the other is the Penna Letter. So that's basically how the website is structured, okay? Now, when you look at, then if I go back now and look, you see I have a series of colored little icons on each of those, some of these click buttons. And these are ones where within the website there's a fair amount of information. So, I mean, whereas on the Society is only 1 page, okay, on the Monument is only 1 page, but in Medieval Wales there's a lot of information, and there's a lot of pages, or a fair number of pages, that are available for viewing. And if that was included in this menu here, it would make that menu a bit more complicated, because you'd have a long list then of things that you would want to go through, or could go through. And because if you're interested in Medieval Wales, you may very well want to go through all of them, okay? Similarly, we have the Uprising button here, and again, there's a lot of information in there, far more than 1 page. And when you start to look at Uprising, you will want to go and look maybe a lot of things in there, rather than have to come back to here every time, come down, go into Uprising, and then pick another page again. And again, if that button give rise to a submenu over here, you'd have a fairly complicated menu structure over here as well. The same thing goes for Timeline, okay? There's far more than 1 page in the Timeline. And again, that would, if we put it in here, would create a submenu over here. And it's quite likely that people would want to look at a lot more than 1 timeline at a time. So that means if it was on this particular part of the menu, then they'd have to come back into here, okay, come over to the history, over to there, down to there, down to the timeline, and into one, and then same thing again to get into the next one. So it gets a bit tedious, okay. So there's 2 advantages for putting these as 1 button, right? One is that it simplifies the menu system and stops it being too unwieldy, right? Okay. And the other thing is, of course, maintenance of the website itself. I mean, if all of those menu systems associated with those buttons there were in here, then if it were one small change to the timeline, it means the whole website has to be accessed, amendment made, and the whole website has to be recompiled or republished again, okay? Which is a time-consuming policy, and it is prone, if you're not careful, it is prone to making errors. So having these sections here into separate subsections makes the maintenance of the website a lot easier. Now, I'll look at these buttons up here for that, just to give you an indication. The Medieval Wales subsection, okay? If we look underneath here, under Medieval Wales, that is the menu system that exists for Medieval Wales. So imagine if that was up there, that's going to add a fair old complication to the menu system, to the main menu. Because it's down here, it's a lot easier. Once you've selected Medieval Wales, okay, and come down here, you then, once you click that, you'll get another little menu which shows a little navigation bar, a little navigate button, sorry, which will actually show you the menu system associated with Medieval Wales. So it's pretty quick to get around Medieval Wales there, because you're only coming through a short little path, okay? And the same thing applies to the timeline. If we look at the timeline down here, there's all those entries, all those pages in there for the timeline. And as I said earlier, people would very well want to look at more than one of those timelines when they visit the website. And again, if that was up here, you would have to navigate across from there to the timeline over here, and over to one and down to another timeline, and then do the same thing for the next timeline. So it gets a bit tedious. So, and then we have the other one is the Uprising, which is up here. Okay, that's 1 button. When we click on it, what happens is we get it comes up then with a sub menu, which will actually allow you to access all the pages that are in the Uprising section. And again, it's pretty quick, because you're not having to traverse all the way across that that menu system there every time. You can go in at this particular menu here, and you can see that you can go straight to battles and all the way down there, or you can go through campaigns and all the way down there. I'll demonstrate this a little later so we can see what the thing looks like. The support button in there is not really relevant. It's something I've added to enable me to hold information pertaining to showing people what the website is all about. Basically, it's more training or information, which is not part of the historical data of the website itself. Before I leave this chart, I'll give you just an indication, because you can see there these subsections. For example, the medieval Wales subsection is 15 pages in there, okay? The timeline subsection has got 10 pages in there. And the uprising section has got, again, 15 pages in there, right? So that's sort of a total of about 40 pages in there. And if we didn't have these subsections, all those would have to fit in and up to here. And that would get very unwieldy when it comes to navigate the website, okay? So there's a big advantage in having these subsections. So that's how the menu system is structured, and with these various subsections in there, okay? There are three main subsections effectively that can concern the historical nature of the website. So that's how it's actually structured, okay? So what I'm going to go on to now is show you on the live website how those things look like when you try and access them online. So we'll now go back to the live website, and I'll just give you a quick look at how the menu system looks on it. So if I go up to the navigate button there, you'll see I've got the home drop down sub-menu. And if I go to Glyndŵr history, I get the Glyndŵr history drop down menu. And if I hover over the about Owain Glyndŵr, I'll get the who is Owain Glyndŵr drop down menu. So those are the three main sections of the main menu, okay? And then we've got the society hover button over here. And again, clicking on that gives us the society page, okay? If I go back to About Society, I can carry on down and click on any one of those and I'll get a page up. And the same thing applies to comments and suggestions. I click on that, I'll get one page for comments and suggestions. Now then, when it comes to medieval Wales, if I click on medieval Wales, you see what happens. I now get the medieval Wales brought in as a subsection and added to the live website. So I've still got the main menu on the top, okay, which as far as this medieval Wales are concerned, I don't need to use. But I now have, if I want to navigate through medieval Wales, then there's a separate navigation button there. And it splits into two parts, key items, so I can go down quickly and look at any one of the items in here, okay? Or I can go to biographies and I can go down and look at all the biographies very quickly. So you can navigate this menu pretty quickly. Whereas if it was a part of the main menu, it would get a bit unwieldy. So there's one thing in here, when I get to the this submenu, this little submenu here, I point out this is quite sort of sort of a powerful feature in here. If I go to notable people, this gives a list of I think about 20 most notable people of the medieval period. And I'll get this little table up, okay? So it lists a number of names of these notable people, and it's split into three sections, okay? This part on the top here is pre-Age of the Princes. The bit in the middle is the Age of the Princes period, and the bit at the bottom is the post-Age of the Princes period, okay? And you can see there then some of these people were known by two names, so they're shown there the two names for those people, okay? And on the right hand side there you'll see the little icons, okay? So if I hover over that little icon, I'll get a sort of a paragraph of information on that person. It's a very brief little note telling you a bit more about that person. Okay, I'll go off it. And that's available for every one of the ones in the actual. So I go down there, I'll get a paragraph on every one, okay, as I hover over it and go away, hover over it and go away. Now you notice as well, some of the names have got an asterisk after them, okay, going down that way. And what that means is, as you see up here, click on these people to view biography. In other words, we've got a biography on the system. If you remember, we've got a whole list of biographies. We've got that number of people where we've created fairly detailed biographies on. So if I'm looking at this little table here and I see a star there, it means I can click on it. And if I click on it, it's Rhodri Mawr. I'll get the biography for Rhodri Mawr, okay, which I can read up and down. Okay, that's what I want. And then I can go back by using the back arrow key on the browser, back into this notable people again. And that applies, I can do anyone. Click with Apple Llywelyn, I'll get that biography and I can start back there. And one other thing here, when I'm in here now with these subsections, if I scroll down, you see the menu disappears, the little sub-menu disappears, okay? So I can either scroll back up again, or if you see on every page, there's this little bar on the top, and you can click on the bar, or on the, anywhere on the bar, and what it'll do, it'll take you straight back to the top. It's not so bad here, as the page is not so long, but if I go to and look at the brief summary that exists, which is the home page of this subsection effectively, then that is a reasonably long thing to look at, okay? So I can always scroll back up again to get to the next menu, or if I'm down here, I'll just click on that bar there, and it takes me straight back to the top so I can get at the menu again, okay? So that's, and then within these sections here, as you see, they've got the facility to switch languages within the subsection, right? So although the main website itself is in English, okay, while I'm in here, if I want to look at what the Welsh brief summary looks like, I can click on the Cymraeg button and I'll get up the Welsh equivalent of that, okay? And I can navigate in here, okay, and look at some of the biographies in here, okay, Hywel Dda. And then if I want to look at the English version of Hywel Dda, I just click on that and I'll come back and I get the English version of Hywel Dda. So I can switch within the little pages within the subsection between English and Welsh. The other buttons over here, that one there, if I click that, it'll take me back to the first page in this subsection. If I click on it, I'll get back to the brief summary, okay? And also as well, there's a facility here for printing the subsection. So because some of these get in wheelie, so there's a little click button there for the printer. So if I click on that, there we are, the page is up there and I can print that, okay? It's more than one page, but it's a nice little print, okay? Whereas if you try and print it with the browser itself by going to print or something like that, it won't look so tidy. See, because you got the header from the page being printed on every page, which messes it up a little bit, okay? So that's why I put the little separate print button within each of these subsections, which gives a far cleaner print of that section. And again, you see there, if I click on that, I go back to the top of the page, okay? So that's Medieval Wales. And if I now want to go to somewhere else on the website, I want to move away from Medieval Wales, and all I do is move up to that one, which is the main menu on the top, and I can actually go and have a look at the Uprising subsection, okay? And it'll bring in the Uprising homepage, which is there, which works in exactly the same way. As you see, this bar is still there, okay? So I'll go back to the top, I can click that. I can change languages in there. I can at any time go back to the first page of this subsection, or I can print this subsection. So it all works in the same consistent way, okay? And again, coming into here and down, I go to the timeline, and that'll bring in the timeline. First timeline, and that is a concise version of the timeline, right? It just gives you a summary of the whole timeline, okay? And I don't want to scroll back, so I'll click on there. I'll come back to the top. And same thing applies here. I can change to the Welsh version of that timeline. So I'll get to the Welsh version of the one, or I can switch back to the English again. And these two buttons do exactly the same again. Whatever timeline I'm on, it'll bring me back to the first timeline, and I can do a print of it there. And if you see now there, move from timelines is very, very quick, you know. I mean, I just got to hover over there and I can go to the 1404 timeline just there, right? These timelines have got, when you get into the actual timelines, they've got little icons over here and you can roll over the images and it gives you an appropriate photo for that particular timeline. It's talking about Aberystwyth, so there's photo of Aberystwyth Castle in there if you hover over it, right? And then it's got Coity, talking about Coity Castle, so that is something about Coity, a photo of Coity Castle. Okay, and we can, it's got a little icon on appropriate to the particular line in the timeline where the photo is deemed appropriate. Okay, so those are the three main subsections that we've covered. Okay, medieval Wales, uprising, and timeline. And because you see there's quite a few pages in there and they're very quick to navigate them, whereas if they were part of the main menu, they would make the whole thing unwieldy. I'll go back up to my Navigate again and I can carry on going through the website. If I want to look at family, I can look at family. There's a family tree there, which will open in a new browser window. Okay, so when I finish viewing that, I just close the browser window up there, and then I can come back to the main menu again. Over there, if I get the end of it, and I can bring up family details. Okay, and on the desktop version, the PC desktop version, then if you hover over that, it'll tell you what it is, right? The arms of Powys Fadog, and if you hover over that, it tells you it's the arms of the Deheubarth. And down there we've got Battle of Pwllmelin. And so with that, the rest of the menu just is self-explanatory, really. I mean, go over there, I can look at the pen and letter. So that's basically how the menu system works, okay? So I go back to home, and I'm back to the home page. Earlier when I was talking about the main menu, I told you that there was a section on there called support. There it is down the bottom there, okay? So I'll just briefly show you what's in there so that you can see what sort of things are available if you want to actually brush up on the website. So if I click on support section, I'll get this little menu in here, the page in here. And there's, if I go on to it, says there, the navigate button to select the support you require. So if I go on to it, there's the actual menu system that exists for this section, okay? There's the main menu structure. So if I click on that, it'll open the main menu structure in a new browser window. This is the one I was showing you earlier. So again, you can actually, if you want to, choose to print that to keep it as available. Bear in mind that they can, you know, when the website changes, these will be updated. So the version dates are down there, okay, for the 2 pages. So if we've looked at that, and if I come back to this menu here, there's website statistics. Now that is a video. If I click on that, it takes me to a video which takes you through how the statistics system on the website exists. Within the document archive page, there is one entry in there for website statistics, and it shows how much the website is being used and how it's being used, for example, by country and by type of device and so forth. And that is a video there which you can play. If I close that off, I'll come back to this menu here. Then there's another video in here, because if you look on the top there, it's a search, so there's a little magnifying glass there. If you go onto it, it says search website, okay? So on this way, there's a web search facility, okay? Then it actually takes you through how to use that. It's quite straightforward and easy, but that video there will take you through, and you can get a good understanding of how that works and what it can do with for you. Come back to this menu again. And the next one down here, which I'm going to hover onto a bit, is the main menu navigation, right? Now what I've done here, if I click on there, it brings up another screen, right? What I've done here is to actually try and, if you remember in the beginning, I showed you the my main menu structure, the little map, is to actually use that map and make it into a sort of interactive map, right? So that I can click on the buttons that you saw on there and it'll activate those parts of the website. So the description in there tells you what you do, right? Which I won't dwell on now, but you click the start button and what you get is a chart like this, okay? Which you saw earlier on while I was explaining to you the menu system, okay? But the thing that's different about this one is that this is now interactive, okay? So whenever I go on to a click button, which is the dark colored ones, right? So if I go on there, if I click on that one, I'll get the Glyndŵr Homes homepage opens up in a new tab, right? Okay, and I can navigate through that and look at it and so forth, and I can follow links in there if I want to, if there were any links. Okay, and then when I finished doing what I want in there, I close that tab off, okay, and I'm back to this little chart again, and I can go to another part of the website. And suppose I wanted to look at the timeline, I go onto there, and that takes me into the timeline subsection, okay, gives me the first page, and it's now on the website itself, so you're actually driving it straight from here, okay. So if I close that tab again, I can come back to here, and if you want to see what the Society Trips looks like, I can click on that button there and it'll bring up the Society Trips page, okay. Now this actually lists all the trips of the Society, and you see this is going back to 2015, the Goulburn Valley trip, and each one, and this one goes up to the Colwyn and AGM trip in September 2019, okay. And I can click on any one of those and it'll show me the information, okay. Now these are quite long, okay. So similar to the subsections, like you saw in the other subsections, there's that button on the top there which will take you back to the top, okay. But not only that, once you come back to the top, you may want to look at another one. There's another button there which reloads the index, so I can then go directly to another trip and look at that and go down, and there's a lot of information in there that can be read. And to go back to the top again, I click that, okay. So I can read through, and when I finished with Society Trips, I can click that and I'm back to my chart again. And that applies to every one of the buttons on here, because if you hover over it, you see that it changes to a hand, which means it's an active button, okay. See it? They all change, so therefore you can actually see what each of. I go into Document Archive. I mentioned earlier about the website statistics, whether it is there's a load of documents in there that people have prepared, which are not part of the main website, but are supplementary to it. Right? We've called it a document archive. Okay, so if I wanted to see there's a document there on the 6 Ashes notice board, I could click that, and it brings up the document on the 6 Ashes notice board. Okay. Now this one here, because it's a long screen, it doesn't got the bars on the top, but it's got it on the right hand side. If I click on that, you see it takes me back to the top. Okay. The website statistics is there, which takes me to the website statistics, which allows me to look at a summary or a detailed, okay, some terminology explanation there. If I click on that, it brings up give you the terminology, what's a hit, what's a visit, what's a unique visit, what's a page view, and so forth. So if I go back, and then there's an archive, right, website statistics archive. If I click on that, currently we're in the year 2021, so the the website statistics works on the current year. So the current statistics is showing what's happening in 2021. But the archive one can let you go back and you can click on 2020 and look at what happened during 2020 for the whole of 2020. If I go back to the statistics again and I can tap on website statistics, it shows you, this is what it actually shows you, right? Okay, there's the analysis of visits and so forth. And then it shows you the visits by country for the English and the Welsh websites, and by operating system. In other words, so these are Windows devices, those are unknown. These are Macintosh devices. That one is a Linux device, and that is iOS, which is really Apple iPhones or iPads, and that's for the two English and the Welsh. Okay, I can go back to the top by clicking the bar. So if I finished in there again, remember I'm still coming from my little chart. So I can close the tab, and I'm back to this chart again. So this chart allows you to actually, I'm not recommending this to replace the main menu system by any means, okay? But bear in mind down here as well that the version of that chart is that date. Now, the aim is, of course, to keep that chart up to date, but there may have been changes occurred on the website which are not yet reflected in the chart itself. So you may not be able to look, if they've added new pages to the main website, they may not appear to be accessible in here, okay? And so that's like the O England Do page will allow you to look straight at that, okay? So it's a good way of actually understanding how the website is structured and how it's laid out, and what you've got to do to get to certain pages. So it shows you the path, the main menu path to get. So to get to Glendower's Homes over there, right, you come to this menu, up to that there, across to that one there, down to there, and across to there. But it allows you to look at the page. That's the Sycamore Timber page, okay? Each time we finished, we close the tab that it's opened, and we're back to here. So it gives you a good appreciation of how the website is structured, and you can actually as well look at the pages so you can see. So it's a sort of a training aid, right, to familiarize yourself with the website. And when I finished with my chart, okay, then I close off the tab. So now I'm back at my main menu interactive chart, okay. So I close that tab off, and it takes me back to this page, which actually started me off looking at everything in the support section. And there is a contact support on the bottom, which is a form basically. So if somebody got some problems with using the website, don't understand something, or why is this like that, and so forth, then they can fill that form in and submit it, and we'll hope to sort them out. So that's the end of my talk on introduction to the website. I'll just go back to the home menu. Thank you for listening.